Live-o, we're live-o. I'm live-o once again. Welcome to Path 101. I'm your host, Kassa, and today's subject is going to be a bit complicated. I want to speak of an unknown theory of the universe. You've heard of the theory of the Big Bang Theory, but there is no spiritual theory being spoken of. So I'm going to speak of a spiritual theory in regards to the universe. So we've heard scientists do their scientific stuff and speak of the Big Bang. Then you have the occultists, and you have the alphabet agency community that do their research on the universe. And I'm more linked to that side of the alphabet community in regards to the mysteries of the universe, because they use clairvoyant minds and psychic minds to study the universe. Much more interesting than a scientific mind that's dealing with numbers or just looking out from a cosmic telescope, from a telescope looking cosmically outside. But imagine if you had a mind that could journey outside of your physical body and journey into the universe. You'd learn more than someone that's just sitting down there. So I lean more into that side of the theory of a spiritual universe. I leave the Big Bang to the scientist and you can bang away. So there's this image I have here, and this image, it portrays my equation of spiritual matters. When they speak of the universe, they say dark matter, and the cosmic matter, the nebula, the galaxies and stuff like that. That is matter. Then I have this blue stuff, you can see here, which is a matter the scientist does not speak about. It's a matter of another universe leaning onto the dark matter universe. I shall portray that in another image. So these are just the matter forms that consist in the creation of the universe. So we have the matter that we understand, galaxies, the stars, nebulas. Then we have the blue matter we don't understand about, science does not speak of. Then we have the antimatter realm, which is outside of the universe. The scientist does not speak about, so they do not have an antimatter equation in their theory of the universe. Then there's the omniscience realm. I call it the omniscience realm because it's a realm of pure spirit, pure unadulterated spirit. And when spirit wants to experience a life, you have to come down into matter, into the universe, whether it's antimatter universe or the dark matter universe that we know of, or this other blue matter universe that I don't know much of either. See, there's things I know, there's things I don't know. But because I've experienced something, I'm left with more questions, and that lets me know, okay, I don't know everything. So let me go back to spirit and how it comes down into all these forms of matter in order to experience them. In the Bible, you can call it the Holy Spirit. But remember, in the Big Bang Theory, in the scientific theory, it's not included. And religious principles, it's mentioned of here and there, especially when you're speaking of the Trinity, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. These are principality in regards to a spiritual simulation. It's like saying the Ka, the Ba, and the Osa, Egyptian mysteries. So in regards to the principles of the Trinity, they're ancient stuff. And they're about coming into a simulation universe. So that's just a little breakdown of my theory of a spiritual universe. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to listen to a video from Piers reasoning with Stephen Mayer. I'm sorry I pronounced your name incorrectly. And let's hear what they reason with here. Drop that.
New book, Return of the God Hypothesis. You argue there are three big scientific discoveries that point to the existence of God. I want to go through these. One, the Big Bang Theory. So why would that lend support to a theory of a God? Or
well,
God?
right. Maybe just a little framing before I dive into the evidence. Professor Dawkins at Oxford has said that the universe has precisely the properties that we should expect if at bottom there is no purpose, no design, nothing but blind, pitiless indifference. And though I'm on the opposite side of this science v. God issue with the good professor, I think he does a marvelous job of framing key issues. And this is one of those great framing quotations. Because what he's saying is that whether we think of it as a scientific question or a philosophical question or both, if we have a hypothesis about reality, the way we test that is by looking at the world around us and seeing if what we see comports with what we would expect to see if our hypothesis were true. And his hypothesis is that of blind, pitiless indifference, which is a shorthand way of saying that everything came about by strictly undirected material processes. And what the materialists expected coming into the early 20th century was evidence of an eternal, self-existent universe, one that had been here for an infinitely long time and therefore did not need an external creator. What in fact the astrophysicists, the cosmologists, the astronomers found was evidence of a universe that had a definite beginning, and therefore one that could not have created itself, because before the matter of the universe came into existence, there was no matter there to do the causing. And so the picture of the universe that has emerged starting from the 1920s all the way to the present, both from observational astronomy and from theoretical physics, is a universe that had a definite beginning and therefore requires some sort of external creator or cause.
Dawkins is of.
So, you hear theory. It's interesting. A universe that had a beginning, definitely had a beginning, but I won't say that there was a bang. There's just too much rules going on in the universe to say there was a bang. The motion of galaxies is just too orderly. The rule of the golden ratio, according to the universe, is just too orderly. It either came through, people like to say, like you say, there must be a designer, something else like that. What if there was no designer and it was pure consciousness? In my previous video, my colleague read about something in regards to King Solomon saying that the God that he knows dwells within thick darkness. Or what if this God that dwells within thick darkness is pure, unadulterated consciousness? That our consciousness comes from there as well. How about that? And our consciousness comes from that thick darkness that they speak of in the Bible. But yet, this consciousness that we have, in order for it to participate in matter, yeah? Now remember, universe is matter. It has to come from a place of non-matter realm. So if we say the Big Bang happened, not really, because there's consciousness prior to the Big Bang. Pure unadulterated consciousness. We could say what happened after it came out of the Big Bang. I wouldn't say that it created the universe, that the mind, the consciousness, because the universe is mental. I wouldn't say that it went straight away to create the universe. I would say it probably went to create a spiritual realm that I call the omni-essence, or spiritual divine realm. In the book of Genesis, you hear them quoting that, and the Spirit of God moved over the waters of the abyss. So before there's this matter that we understand is dark matter and galaxies, there is another form of matter that consciousness created in order it could create this secondary matter, which would be the universe, a simulation which the Spirit would come and participate in order it could become a knowledge of self or fulfill purposes in consciousness.
I was going to say, like everyone, to me, when they talk about God and God had to create the universe, it's like people keep referring to the creator as being like a definite single structured being, when I think my being consists of many beings and components. And in simulation theory, even God couldn't know his existence is not simulated by a higher dimension or existence. And this duality between higher and lower dimensions shows us that a singular God is not what we reside in. The belief in a singular God is the opposite of what a simulation theory believer would believe, in my opinion.
Precisely. Now, religious people speak of the Trinity, and they say as the three bodies of God. So does God have three environments that he could come in and out of, like a simulation, like we do when we pop into our dreams, and outside of our dreams, come back to the physical dimension? The thing is, that when it comes to the consciousness in the universe, the consciousness was there before the universe. It's pure consciousness. Just like we dream ourselves in a dream, but you're in a physical body sleeping. Thus, you're creating a simulation within yourself, and you participate in the simulation. Now, let's hear another clip from this conversation they had.
World's most famous atheist. Are you a believer in God yourself?
I do believe in God, yes.
Okay, so let's play a clip from Dawkins on this show. So
Yes.
why is it not possible that there is a superior being, power, which many people believe in different
It's
ways?
possible there are
different
fairies
types
at the
of
bottom
God.
of the garden. I mean, all sorts of things are possible. you can't deny that.
Well, except I've never seen fairies at the end of the garden. Have you?
No, you've never seen God either.
No, but you don't know for sure that either doesn't exist.
No, I don't know that fairies don't exist. Fairies there may be leprechauns, for all I know.
You know, my big question for all atheists, well, is, okay, you don't believe in God, but what was there before the Big Bang, before this all started? In other words, what was there before supposedly nothing? What is nothing? Nothing to me seems to be a totally incongruous word. What is nothingness? And if you can't explain it, to me, and I believe in God, but to me, it suggests there must be a power bigger than the human mind at the start of all this that was able to comprehend what may have happened, because we can't.
Right. Dawkins wants to portray theistic belief as if it's equivalent to belief in fairies, and he'll concede that, well, it's possible. But I think there's a stronger argument for the theistic case. And that is that when scientists and philosophers reason from evidence, they typically use a method of reasoning that has a technical name. It's called inferring to the best explanation, where the best explanation is one where you're invoking a cause which has the kind of powers that would be required to explain the phenomenon of interest. And you correctly pointed out in your conversation with him that when you get back to that, what physicists often call the singularity, the point where matter, space, time, and energy begin to exist, the materialist is really up against a huge conundrum, because prior to the origin of matter, there is no matter to do the causing. That's what we mean by the origin of matter, that's where it starts.
Right.
And so if you want to invoke a cause which is sufficient to explain the origin of matter, you can't invoke matter. It's in principle, the materialistic explanations are in principle insufficient. So you need to invoke something which is external to the material universe and is not bounded by time and space as well. And that starts to paint a picture of the kind of cause you would need that has the sort of attributes that traditional theists have traditionally associated with God. God is a timeless, God is outside of time and space, has causal powers, is an agent with volition, and therefore can initiate a change of state from, in this case, nothing to something.
And do you believe that God created this original single cell from which everything flows to us?
Oh, the single cell as opposed to the universe.
Well, I guess you go back to the universe,
and
then you go back to the creation of a single cell that has this incredible complexity that eventually, through the process of evolution, leads to human beings.
Yeah, I do think there's...
Do you believe that's really the
think,
most likely scenario?
Yeah, I do think there's incredible evidence of intelligent design at the point of the origin of life, because that first simple cell, in the 19th century, Thomas Huxley said that the cell is a simple homogeneous globule of undifferentiated protoplasm.
Brilliant phrase.
Wonderful. He was one of the great scientists of the 19th century, but we know so much more now that he didn't know. And what we now know is that inside even the simplest cell, we have digital nanotechnology. We have the information stored in the DNA. We have an exquisite system of information storage, transmission, and processing. And that information is being used to build protein machines and other even more complex nanomachinery inside the cell. So it's a sort of automated factory run by digital information. People didn't know about that in the early 19th century.
But do you believe, like I said, originally there's just one single solitary cell that's created?
Well, right. Presumably that's where...
Is that what you think?
I do think there was an original cell that was created.
Because the theory of evolution says the journey from single cell to the full complexity of life on Earth and so on happened by random trial and error. But your position, I think, is that it's so complicated, this original single cell, so complex for all the reasons you just articulated, that that's just simply not feasible, that it would be just random trial and error. It had to be the creation of some superior entity.
Right.
Is that right?
Well, again, there's two contexts. There's the how do you get to the first cell, and then how do you get from the first cell to everything else. Let's just take the origin of the first cell.
You think the creator of the universe is God?
I do.
And then out of the universe comes the creation of a single cell, which again is God.
Right. Here's the evidence, though, that when we see information in a digital or alphabetic or typographic form, and this is what we actually see in the DNA, when Francis Crick elucidated what he called the sequence hypothesis in the late 1950s, he realized that the 4 subunits along the interior of the DNA are functioning like alphabetic characters in a written text or digital characters in a section of software. What we know from experience is that whenever we say information of that sort, it always comes from a mind. Bill Gates, our local hero, has said that DNA is like a software program, but much more complex than any we've ever devised. Richard Dawkins has acknowledged that it functions like a machine code. Well, what we know is that software comes from a programmer. And in fact, whenever we see information of that kind, whether it's in a software program or a hieroglyphic inscription or a paragraph in a book, it always arises from a mind, not a material process. So the discovery of information at the foundation of life and even the simplest living cell, I argue, is decisive evidence of the activity of a designing mind in the origin of life.
If you want to make a full-time income from home,
Oh, he went in there. I like what I picked out from him, where he states there needs to be a mind behind the creation of the cell. That will go back to a simulation theory. Something else projecting into the physical dimension from a metaphysical point of thinking. When he mentions protoplasm, to me, you're like, so protoplasm is part of the blood. And then you think about, where does blood come from? Where is it made in the part of the body? Should be made, I think it's made in the bones, isn't it?
I think so.
It's made in the bones.
Some of the reactions take place in the
Yeah.
bones,
In the bones. Your blood is made from the bones. So you think about this metaphysically. If you study more about your physical body, especially if you chase these protoplasm things, it leads to stuff outside of your body. Your blood, our blood system seems to be connected to an entity outside of our dimension.
What makes you say that?
Because of protoplasm.
I don't know.
It's plasma. It's light. It's light. It's light. Everything is made of light. Especially if you listen to the scientists and they tell you about the wave and particle theory, as soon as you observe the wave, it turns into a particle. So the wave and the particle knows that it's been observed. That means there's something with our eyes, the way we view reality. There's something going on with. It's like Donald Hoffman when he mentions that nature does not allow us to see reality for what it is. It's just the physical body is designed not to see reality. And you can go back, the ancient people knew about this, back to the ancient people. They knew about this. Plato's allegory, cave allegory, is part of that simulation theory. The mysteries of Osiris are part of the simulation theory, Maya. So we are participating in a simulation, just like I say, we dream ourselves in dreams, make copies of ourselves. Alan Watts keep on pushing this to you and he laughs about it. Oh, you're in a dream. Way out there dreaming. Way out there. And it's true. We don't see reality for what it is. If we were to see reality for what it is, maybe we'd run away from the light because we're so dumbed away from who we are. We've been dumbed down so much. If we were to view ourselves, we'd run. We'd fear it. We don't understand the darkness that we dwell in. But then they tell you in the Bible, God dwells within thick darkness. But yet we slumber in that thick darkness and we crave for it. Take sleep from a human being. He goes nuts. We need that darkness. And yet we need the light. Crazy things we are. Right, here's one more clip. Let's see what the scientists say about what's going on with the origins of the universe.
There are other scientific hypotheses that don't use God as an explanation for all this. One is the simulation matrix theory, which Elon Musk talks about, or the idea of a multiverse. And when I had Neil deGrasse Tyson on, the astrophysicist, he said this. What was there before the beginning of the universe? Everyone asks this question. What's the simple answer?
Oh, I'm delighted I can respond to you. We don't know. But we got top people working on it. Okay.
Ha 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 ha. They're laughing at you. Hollywood knows.
Knows what?
What was there before the universe? They're portrayed in so many films, some horror films and stuff. The thick darkness. The darkness. It's in the Bible too. We're ready for you. They know where we're going. That's why they say the Big Bang, there was a void, an emptiness before the Big Bang. And in that void was consciousness. Sometimes I like to call it primordial consciousness. A consciousness where it's pure and adulterated consciousness, and there's no form whatsoever. There's no galaxies, no universe. It's just pure consciousness dwelling without no matter. And consciousness comes into matter. So what was there before the Big Bang? Pure consciousness, a realm of pure consciousness. And it's a realm of pure sparks. You ever seen a spark? Sometimes you see sparks all over, or you feel pins and needles. Consciousness like that, like stars, like sparks, like Tinkerbell. One minute she's there, bing! Next minute she's a little star, she's bing, gone. Primordial sparks of pure consciousness and the will to become into matter. The occultic society knows about this. The Egyptians knew about this. Ptah. So it's not like they don't know. They don't want you to know. They want to keep you confused. Ha 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 ha, laugh at you. We stay on the path here. And we're going to keep you on the path until the next video. Stay on the path.